Rama ikanannu brova Raga dayaleda Rama ikanannu brova Raga dayaleda Shri 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 Rama ikanannu brova Raga dayaleda Rama ikanannu brovarada dayaleda. This is addressed to Sri Rama, one of the most beloved deities of the Hindu religion. The composer says, Rama, can you not take care of me? Can you not protect me? Nannu brovarada dayaleda. Don't you have pity? Do you not have compassion? Now, one of the most obvious features, most striking features of Carnatic music compositions is their religious orientation. Most of them, as I said, especially the Kriti, which is the premier compositional form, Kritis are always addressed, they always refer to one or the other deity in the Hindu pantheon. So the question naturally immediately arises, how necessary is a religious attitude to perform or enjoy this music? If this music is art music, it is classical music, then surely its reach should be beyond a certain religious community. But the compositions being so obviously and explicitly rooted in the Hindu tradition, what of people outside this religion? How do they relate to these compositions? Can a non-Hindu perform Carnatic music or enjoy it? The answer to this straight away and very clearly is a yes. And we have had performers from outside the Hindu fold. We have had Westerners take seriously to Carnatic music. And in our own backyard, we have Muslim families like the Sheikh Chinna Maulana family, who for generations have been very prominent performers of Carnatic music of the Nagaswaram, which is a traditional instrument. So, the Carnatic compositions are in devotion, in content they are devotional. So, what is the relation between Carnatic compositions and Carnatic music and Hindu devotion? Chemmangudi Srinivas Iyer, one of the most influential, one of the most venerated musicians of the previous generation, said that bhakti or devotion is important in Carnatic music, but it is bhakti for the music. That is what is important. Another great musician, a living legend as he is called, Professor V.V. Subramaniam, he said that what is bhakti? Bhakti stems from love, devotion stems from love. And in the context of music, this love is this seeking, this yearning is a yearning after mergence with the Shruti, mergence with the Raga, mergence with the composer's mind, so that we can bring out an evocative music. That is what is bhakti in the context of Carnatic music. Even so, it is hard to ignore that as far as the content of the compositions go, it is explicitly religious. So, let us in this session explore the relationship between Carnatic music and just try to understand what we mean when we say that Carnatic music compositions are rooted in bhakti. And this is something that we often hear, and it cannot be dismissed. Compositions in Carnatic music, especially the Kriti, as I said, is rooted in a larger ethos of a metaphysical stance, a world view that draws from various strands of this complex entity called Hinduism. Questions about human destiny, about what is this life, what are we here for, what is its purpose, the angst, the agony, the anxiety of our mortality, and every human soul seeking freedom, liberation from the limitations imposed by this mortality. These are the questions that every religion addresses, and Hinduism also does it, but there is no single answer or no single worldview that is offered. There are at least 3 strands that can be discerned in this complex religion. We have the Vedic ritualism on the one hand, which emphasizes discharge of religious duties, what is called Nitya and Naimittika karmas and many other karmas. On this worldview, human life, the goal of human life is seen as the proper discharge of duties, religious duties. Human beings are seen as being under the debts, under certain debts, what are called rina. They are indebted to the gods who give them life, who give them food, water, air and everything. They are indebted to their fathers and forefathers, Pitru Runa as it is called, and they are indebted to their Acharya, the teacher. And a human being's life is properly lived when he discharges his debts to these 3 beings. And then we have the um, the quiescence, the Upanishadic stance which advocates meditating, withdrawing into oneself and seeking the truth by withdrawing from worldly pursuits. Now, besides these two, there is a third very powerful strand of Hinduism, which is the Bhakti strand, the Bhakti way, the way of Bhakti. This we find in our Puranas and more joyfully in the songs of the hundreds of Bhakti poets that we have had in this country from about the 5th century till about the 16th or 17th centuries, even later. So what is this Bhakti movement, as it is called? The Bhakti movement originated in Tamil Nadu in the outpourings, devotional outpourings of the Alvars, who sang of their love for Vishnu, followed by the outpourings of the Shiva devotees, the Tevarams, and soon this spread across the country, and we have many Bhakti saints. We have the Dasakutas and the Veerashevas from Karnataka. We have Mirabai, Tulsidas, Surdas, Kabirdas. We have Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, many Bhakti poets, all of them singing of their love for Krishna or Rama or Devi or Shiva in their regional languages. Sanskrit was set aside. They sang easily of their love, just as they would sing or they would talk to their mother or father. Bhakti is a movement with great diversity in it, but one feature is certainly that it is the individual seeking a direct relationship with God. The Bhakti poets, all of them, have very little use for ritualism, for outward religious symbols, paraphernalia. In their place, an intense love for the God, intense love for Krishna or Rama, and singing to them as if they were there, as if Rama or Krishna was their father. That is the essence of Bhakti, the Bhakti voice. They seek the Lord on their own terms. Passion, love, even defiance is seen in the poems of these bhaktas, Bhakti saints. It is the individual seeking the Lord, which is why we find almost invariably that these songs have the signature of the Bhakta. The Bhakti poets leave their signatures in their poems, what is called Ankita or Mudra. So Mira says Mira kahe in all her padas. Kabir says Das Kabir or Kahet Kabir Suno Bhai Sadho. Annamacharya uses the name of his Lord as his signature, Venkateshwara. Purandaradasa uses again Purandara Vithala as his Ankita, so that in all of his padas Purandara Vithala is used. We will see Carnatic composers also use this Ankita or the Mudra, and they incorporate this signature in their compositions. Bhakti has no use for rituals and their formalism, nor for the quiescence and the withdrawal that the Upanishads preach. Instead, Bhakti saints sing of their tumultuous love for God. They sing to Him, they speak to Him, they cajole Him, they plead with Him, they even chastise Him, they even show their anger, their disappointment, even sometimes sarcasm. The Bhakti movement, as it is called, has suffused the Indian ethos, the Indian mind, the Indian psyche. It has left a deep impact on, certainly on the performing arts, on the literary arts as well. Now, while there were radical ideas in the Bhakti movement, they questioned prevailing religious mores, religious practices that emphasized outward expression, outward symbolism. They also criticized social mores, and many of them explicitly rejected the caste system. So, any bhakta, whether of whatever gender or caste or creed, if he or she loves the Lord, then he or she is a brother and a sister. So, this kind of social radicalism is also seen in many bhakti poetry. Now, where does Carnatic music stand vis-a-vis this tradition? I am going to play a composition for you. It is a Tamil composition composed by Gopalakrishna Bharati, who lived in the 19th century. He was a younger contemporary of the Carnatic Trinity, and it is believed that he and Tyagaraja had a meeting, and there were some exchanges of musical ideas. And so he, chronologically or in terms of his stature as a composer, he comes next, he comes after the Trinity certainly, but I want to play this composition of his before going on to talk about the Trinity in our next sessions, because this composition very clearly is rooted in the Bhakti ethos, Bhakti tradition, as I have outlined. The Bhakti, certain features of what we call Bhakti Sampradaya are very clearly there in this composition. Gopalakrishna Bharati's compositions are very poignant, they are very nuanced compositions, and this composition goes like this. வழி மறைத்திருக்குதே மலை போலே ஒரு மாடு படுத்திருக்குதே பாவி பறையன் இந்த ஊரில் வந்தும் இவன் பாவம் தீரேனோ உந்தன் பாதத்தில் சேரேனோ தேரடியில் நின்று தரிசித்தால் போதும் கோயில் வரமாட்டேனே ஓரடி விலகினால் போதும் இங்கே நின்று ஊற்று பார்க்க சற்றையாகிலும் விலகாதோ உந்தன் மாடு. The translation is there for you to read. Let us listen to the composition and then we will discuss it.
தரன வழிமறை தீர்க்குதே மலை போலே ஒரு மாட மாடு படு தீருக்கு வழிமறை தீருக்கு மலை போலே ஒரு மாடு படு தீருக்கு வழிமறை தீருக்கு மலை போலே ஒரு மாடு படு தீருக்கு பாவி பறைய நின்ற ஊரில் வந்தும் பாவி பறையன் இந்த ஊரில் வந்தும் பாவி பறைய இந்த ஊரில் வந்தும் பாவி பறையன் இந்த ஊரில் வந்தும் இவன் பாவம் தீரேனோ பாதத்தில் சேரேனோ ஏரேனோ சிவலோகநாத பாவம் தீரேனோ பாதத்தில் சேரேனோ ஏரேனோ சிவலோகநாத பாவம் தீரேனோ பாதத்தில் சேரேனோ ஏரேனோ சிவலோகநாத அழிமறை தீருக்கு மலை போலே ஒரு மாடு படு தீருக்கு நின்று தரிசித்தால் போதும் கோவிலில் வரமாட்டேன் தேரடி நின்று தரிசித்தால் கோவிலில் வரமாட்டேன் தேரடியில் நின்று தரிசித்தால் போதும் நீலங்கினால் போதும் ஓரடி நீலங்கினால் போதும் இங்கே நின்று பூற்று பார்க்கவே சற்றேயாகியும் விலகாதோ உந்தன் மாடு ஊற்று பார்க்கவே சற்றேயாகியும் விலகாதோ உந்தன் மாடு ஊற்று பார்க்கவே சற்றேயாகினும் விலகாதோ உந்தன் மாடு வழிமறை தீருக்குது மலை போல ஒரு மடுப்படுத்திருக்குதே வழிமறை தீருக்குதே மலை போல ஒரு மடுப்படுத்திருக்குதே
So this composition is part of a larger what is called a musical play. It's actually Katha Kalakshepam. It's a larger work called Nandanar Charitram. Nandanar or Nandan was a Shiva devotee, and he belonged to a very low caste who traditionally couldn't enter temples. And yet he was a devotee and he yearned for a glimpse of the Lord at the temple in Chidambaram, the Nataraja, the Shiva, the Shivalingam at Chidambaram. And this composition describes his sheer frustration that I, against many odds, have come to this town of yours, and yet am I to be denied darshan? Am I to be denied a glimpse of you? This huge bull that is lying in my way. The bull is, of course, Nandi. Nandi is the Vahana or the vehicle of Lord Shiva, and in every Shiva temple, just right before the sanctum of the Lord, we have the Nandi. And Nandan is saying that Nandi is in the way, I can't see you. Won't your bull move just a little so that I can get a glimpse of you? So here you have clear elements of the Bhakti tradition. The many Bhakti poets were in fact from the lower castes who sought direct communion with the Lord. And Nandan is yearning for a darshan of Lord Shiva. Now, Carnatic compositions are situated in the multi-hued Hindu religious tradition, and certainly bhakti is a strong presence in this tradition. We find recurrent metaphorical allusions to the samsara sagara, the oceanic tumult of worldly existence. We find ideas of world weariness, of seeking redemption, or seeking release from a cycle of birth and death. We find ideas of the Lord, of God, being a master puppeteer. Who has his own idea of play, what is called Leela. It's a play for him, and we are all actors in this play of his. Such ideas are all very much part of the Hindu metaphysical worldview, and these are all reflected in Carnatic compositions. The idea of God as being a protector, creator of course, protector, God as being like mother and father. Interestingly, the idea of bridal mysticism, where God is seen as the beloved and the devotee is the bride, that is not found in Carnatic compositions. For instance, if you look at this song from the Alvars, again a composition of a Pashuram from Andal. வானிடை வாழும் அவ்வானவர்க்கு மறையவர் வேள்வியில் வகுத்த அவி கானிடை திரிவதோர் நரி புகுந்து கடப்பதும் ஒப்பதும் ஒப்ப, and so on, the meaning of which she says, Andal says, Andal is the bride. She says that she is Lord Ranganatha's bride, and she will unite with none other than him. This is bridal mysticism at its most passionate, at its most explicit. She says, just as the sacrificial offering that is made for the gods may not be touched by a fox, so also this body of mine is meant for Ranganatha, and no mortal can even dream of touching it. And if there was even the merest talk of me being wedded to a mortal, I will surely die. Now this is, as I said, bridal mysticism. We find bridal mysticism in the songs of Veerashaiva poets, of Mishra, of Kabir, and many others. Now this is not found in Carnatic compositions, though there is a teasing suggestion of it in this composition by Tyagaraja. The lyrics are here. Cherara Vadimira Ramaya, why don't you unite with me? Cherara Vadimira, Cherara Vadimira Ramaya, Cherara Vadimira Ramaya, Cherara Vadimira, 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 ತಲ್ರಿ ಲೇನಿ ಭಗತನನಾದು ಕೋರು ರೀತಿ ಪಲುಮಾರು ವೇಡುಕೊಂಡೆ ಪರದ. Though he seems to refer to the idea of bridal mysticism, it's quite different from the Andal Pashram that I just discussed. Why don't you think about how the two are different? And this is an exercise for you to see how the two compositions are different and how they are similar. We find some radical questioning of social mores, as I have said before, in Bhakti poetry. For example, in this composition by Basavarna, of which I am showing you translation, Basavarna was a Veerashaiva poet, and he is here making fun or questioning the practice of offering a sacrifice as part of a religious ritual. He says, the sacrificial lamb brought for the festival ate of the leaves brought for the decorations, not knowing a thing about the kill. It only wants to fill its belly, born that day to die that day. But tell me, did the killer survive, O Lord of the meeting rivers? Kudala Sangama Deva was the Ankita or the signature of Basavarna, who was a leading poet in the Veerashaiva tradition. Again, Kabir says this, Sar mundate hari mile, to har koi le mudaye. Baar baar ke mundate, bhed na baikunt jaye. So this, again this religious practice of shaving the head, what does it achieve? If by shaving your head you will find your God, then how about a sheep? Surely a sheep should have found Vaikunt, the Lord, long before anybody else. Now, this sort of radical questioning we don't find in Carnatic compositions, though these are very much part of the Bhakti tradition as Bhakti movement, the Bhakti poetry as we know it. So, Carnatic composers draw from the Bhakti tradition and other aspects of other strands of the Hindu religion to varying degrees. If we speak of the Carnatic trinity, Tyagaraja, Muthuswami Dikshidhar and Syama Sastri, Tyagaraja is perhaps closest to the Bhakti movement as I have discussed just a little while ago. He sings to his Rama in various moods, and we will see this later in our next session. We will take up Tyagaraja in some detail. Syama Sastri, from the literary point of view, his lyrics are very simple, bare almost. They seem to draw from a set of stock phrases, and the sentiments expressed are very simple, very straightforward. The music is that much more sophisticated. The lyrics are kept to the bare minimum, but very simple lyrics, but the music scales great heights. Now, Muthuswami Dikshidhar is perhaps the farthest from the Bhakti tradition. He was no doubt a devout person, and but not his compositions do not belong in the Bhakti tradition. There is a complete absence of passion, of expression of passion. Dikshidhar's compositions are rooted more in the abstract philosophical realms of Advaita and Sri Vidya worship, both of which are esoteric and deeply spiritual rather than passionately devotional. There is a little expression of passion and love that is the hallmark of bhakti poetry. His compositions have an aloof grandeur about them. The Trinity and other composers, the Trinity especially, are not the Trinity because of the devotional content in their compositions, because of their affiliations with the Hindu religion. These were great musical minds, and the coming together of music with strong lyrics, strong sahitya, that is what has given them the stature of being the trinity of Carnatic music. Now, I will end the session with this link to a composition, a grand composition by Syama Sastri. This is in the Raga Bhairavi, and this is not a kriti, it is called a Swarajati. You can try and see what the structure of the composition is by listening to it. Here, as I said, it is in the Raga Bhairavi. Bhairavi is one of the very old ragas, and it's an immensely, it's a Rakti raga. It can evoke so many notes, and it lends itself to so much elaboration and such evocative music. And this composition is by, it brings out Bhairavi very powerfully. The composition is in praise of, the composition is addressed to Kamakshi, Devi Kamakshi, the goddess Kamakshi of Kanchipuram. Kanchika Mula dikanu chunu mitini Shri Kanchika Shri Amba Anudinamu Madhavagane Nipada Mula dikanu chunu mitini Shri Kanchika Shri Amba Kundaradana Kuvalayana Talli Rakshim Sukha Shri Amba. The composition is, as I said, addressed to Kamakshi, Kanchi Kamakshi, Kamakshi of Kanchipuram. The Nayika of this composition, the heroine of this piece, in my opinion, is Bhairavi. Kamakshi is, of course, there. She is the source of everything. But the heroine of this piece is the Raga Bhairavi. And that, in my opinion, and that in the opinion not just of me, but of most Carnatic performers, is where Bhakti and religion stands vis-a-vis Carnatic music.